Hi everyone, welcome to Train Forever. I'm Andrew Barr, and today we're talking about glute activation. Specifically, what is it, do you need it, and what does the science tell us about muscle activation so that we can make the best choices about any glute activation exercises that we might put in our program. What is glute activation? Glute activation usually refers to fairly low intensity exercises done in the warm-up for the purpose of activating or turning on the glutes so that they are more able to function optimally and do their jobs when you're doing other lower body exercises like squats, deadlifts, and lunges later in the training program. Common examples of glute activation exercises that you see are glute bridges, where you lay on your back with your knees bent and push into the ground, clamshells, which involve side lying with knees bent and opening the legs, and also multiple variations of lateral walking against band resistance. If you've never heard of glute activation before, you might be wondering, why do I need to activate my glutes? Why are glutes inactive? I've never activated my biceps or hamstrings before. What's up with glute activation? Glute activation can be useful for a few reasons. The first is that glutes are very often underdeveloped. This is in part due to the fact that we sit too much. The glutes can become inhibited from excessive sitting because the glutes don't have to do anything when we're seated. For somebody who might sit upwards of 8 to 10 hours a day, that can result in underdeveloped glutes because the glutes are spending a big portion of your day in a position where they don't need to contribute at all. The next reason that glutes can often be underdeveloped is that many people have a tendency, unconscious or not, to neglect the muscles that they can't see in the mirror, the glutes being an obvious example. And of course we know that many people, unfortunately it's often guys, skip leg day. Don't skip leg day. Lastly, the anatomical and biomechanical properties of the glutes are such that other muscles in the chain, notably the hamstrings and the spinal erectors, are readily available to compensate for poor glute function and, in essence, do their job for them. The same way that glutes are often underdeveloped or inhibited, these muscles can be over-facilitated, which often manifests as them feeling tight, a phenomenon that is, in a way, related to glute inhibition. If you're finding this content useful and informative, go ahead and give me a like and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another training tip. I'll be putting out a new video each week to help you get the most out of your training sessions. The principal function of the glutes is hip extension. When you come up from the bottom of a squat to standing, that's hip extension. And when you push your leg out behind you during running or walking, that too is hip extension. The hamstrings are also powerful hip extensors that can become overdeveloped and tight when the glutes aren't functioning properly. This is one of the commonly referenced benefits of activation type exercises for the glutes. The idea is that by doing a little bit of light work, we can stimulate the glutes so that they're more able to do their jobs when we're doing exercises and movements that involve the glutes and the other powerful hip extensors in the chain. Here's the thing. We don't actually wake glutes up, and we certainly don't switch them on. In the absence of serious nerve trauma, glutes are not off. They can either be underdeveloped, which is really just another way of saying not very strong, or there might be a problem with motor control, the rate or the sequencing at which the motor units involved in the movement fire and get the muscles to do work. Glute activation has the potential to address each issue, but we have to know how to apply the technique. Activation exercises primarily work through a mechanism called post-activation potentiation, sometimes just abbreviated to potentiation. Potentiation is a neuromuscular phenomenon, and the way that it works is when we do an exercise or a movement that involves a given muscle or motor unit, and then we later do another exercise highly related to that movement, that we will be stronger in that movement. Faster or more explosive exercises work best. For example, doing a few jumps before squats can help make you stronger in your squats. Similarly, doing a few med ball chest passes before bench press can make you stronger when you eventually get to bench press. This is one of the major limitations of the most commonly used glute activation exercises, which tend to be slow and involve low levels of force production. This can still be beneficial for a beginner, but even in those examples, it's likely not enough on its own. To take advantage of potentiation, we need to move quickly. This can address the force production side of activation, but what if it's a sequencing issue where the glutes produce a good amount of force, but at the wrong time in the movement. For these reasons, the best glute activation exercises not only involve a speed component, but also closely resemble the integrated athletic movements that we're interested in improving in the first place. My personal favorite activation exercise that ticks all of these boxes is called the sprinter pose, where you start in a lunge position and then drive up through the front leg until you lock that leg out. This provides a speed component and gets the hamstrings and glutes working together in a way that's more transferable to squatting, sprinting, or anything else where we need the glutes to perform their best. Sprinter pose requires good balance and isn't appropriate for most true beginners, but it is a great example of a drill that builds on the more basic glute activation exercises that we're more familiar with and also provides more benefit. Another common problem is when the glutes simply aren't strong enough. And when this imbalance is present, doing squats and deadlifts on their own won't be enough to correct the imbalance. When this is the issue, prioritizing single leg or single leg supported exercises like split squats and lunges, or alternatively hip thrust variations. Doing movements like these with an amount of load that actually develops strength can be a great way to help the glutes catch up to the other muscles in the chain. So yes, glute activation is important and most people do need at least some of it in their program. But bridges and band walks, at least on their own, are not going to be enough to solve the problem. To really address the issue, we can use those exercises, but we also want to choose movements that involve speed and are also more closely resemble the integrated athletic movements that we're interested in improving in the first place. And of course, we can always preferentially strengthen the glutes through movements like split squats, lunges, and hip thrusts. I hope you thought today's video was useful, and if you did, please give me a like and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another training tip. I'll be putting out a new video each week to help you get the most out of your training sessions. And if you head to the description, you can find my free guide to core strength and my 2 training programs made specifically for beginners, one that can be done at home and one that can be done in the gym. You can also find information about my online coaching. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.